fruits. I have been, and always shall be, your friend.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Sorry about that. So first things first, we're gonna get right into it, but it's great to see you guys. Hello, Miss Martin Muses. Hello. She is a doll. You should all go follow her. And Charlie, it's good to see you in the chat too. So if you guys haven't guessed what I know like girl, when I was putting that together, I was like, okay, I don't want to go over 30 seconds. And I was like, how am I going to do this? Because there's so many just brilliant ones. And then I was like, all right, let's like whittle this down to the absolute, just like we'll try and hit action, fantasy, and sci-fi, because those are, of course, my heart, because westerns, there's just too much. But the when I was going through, I was like, man, this is a good one, this is a good one, this is a good one. I'm like, I don't know I don't know how I'm gonna do this. But it really, I needed those particular ones because, of course, Superman is a paragon, and the T-800, like, it's proof that it's proof that we as humans, like, we can care about others beyond just the surface, beyond ourselves. And his sacrifice, it's so poignant. And he's not sad when he's going down into the molten metal. He's just like, this is what has to be done. Like, he is pure logic. Even when he's making the sacrifice, to him, it's not he's doing this because it needs to be done. And when you see the Connors up there just weeping over his sacrifice because of what it means for them, and the fact that it would keep John safe and them safe, and they could grow up, because there's only 2 Terminator films. It's just gutting. And then you have Boromir, who finds redemption, and he comes back and he battles an entire battalion of orcs. And after taking multiple arrows to the chest, this dude just keeps going. He will not stop. He will not be stopped until his last breath, if that's what it takes. And of course, you've got Gandalf, who just, I mean, you can't help but love him, and they loved him, and he was who brought them all together. And then you just have Spock. Like, you know what? Just because I'm cruel like that, we're going to watch it again. We're going to watch it again.
Flower your fruits. I have been, and always shall be, your friend.
Yeah, that Armageddon scene when he's like, I've always thought of you as a son. I love you. Like, it hurts. Oh, it hurts so much. Like, oh man, just, we used to have heroes. And unfortunately, the term hero has been hijacked for a communist definition of the greater good. the greater good. The greater good. Books do this very well. History has taught us, but there is something about film. It is a very powerful. Cinema is incredibly powerful. So to watch the I don't even the detached overlords who don't even understand the actual power that they hold, because they're like, oh, the message, the message, the message. They That's all they see that platform for, and that is the limitation of their imagination and their vision, and that is why these companies are failing, because they cannot see beyond themselves. It's impossible for them. And so we're going to look at a couple definitions. Yes, these are going to be online ones. So take these with a grain of salt, because you guys are going to see a synonym on this definition. And it, again, like, I have my actual dictionary, but because I don't have a webcam to be able to like read it out of the dictionary for y'all, we're going to have to do this from the electronic dictionary. So buckle up, Buttercup, because when you guys see what it says for a synonym, it's you are going to be very surprised. Very, very surprised. That is most definitely for sure. But here we go. Definition of a hero. In mythology and legend, a man, often of divine ancestry, who is endowed with great courage and strength, celebrated for his bold exploits and favored by the gods. That's the first definition of a hero. Second definition, which I think is the most prudent. A person noted for feats of courage or nobility of purpose, especially one who has risked or sacrificed his or her life. It should be his, because obviously heroine is a female, hero is he or his. Soldiers and nurses who were heroes in an unpopular war. Okay, so obviously number 2 is much more in line with what I would think of, because when we're talking fantasy and sci-fi, we're going to get into like John Basilone later. And these mythics that exist inside of stories are often inspired by great, more incredible men. And so I really think this should be the secondary definition, and this should be the primary. Number 3, a person noted for special achievement in a particular field. Synonym: celebrity. That's right. That is correct. The tertiary definition for hero, according to the American Heritage Dictionary of English Language, 5th edition. Celebrity is synonymous with hero. And I think that really about sums up the situation that we find ourselves in today, because in what world is a sailor, soldier, airman, marine, like, in what world are their sacrifices on the same level as celebrity? It's mind-blowing when you see how far down this rabbit hole the utter disrespect for what a hero, or rather the detachment from actual heroism, truly is. The gap, the stopgap is wildly insane. To say that a celebrity is some kind of hero. They play a hero on screen, maybe, but they are most definitely not heroes at all. And I think this goes into that video from earlier that has been making the rounds, where the spoiled little communist millionaire decided that he was going to say streaming, a real job doesn't suck your soul out like streaming for 9 hours does. And I was like, all right, yeah, you let me know as soon as you go get an actual job. And I think your tune would very much change, because I have had jobs where I I like killed myself at them, and the payoff wasn't worth it. And every day you're like, "God, why do I have to keep coming? Like, why do I have to keep coming back? Why am I still here? What am I doing here?" And it's like, well, hopes and dreams and communist manifestos don't put food on the table. So you just keep going on the grind until either you acquire enough skills and or knowledge to be worth more, or transfer into a field that has similar requirements, but because you have that experience under your belt, they'll pay you a bit more for them. So I think when we look at this, and for people to stand there and say that celebrities are heroes, to even put that as a synonym, is truly mind boggling. And for someone to think that a special achievement in a particular field makes you a hero, unless you are discovering the cure for cancer, um, or you're going to end poverty or starvation, I don't think getting a high five or a special little ribbon for participation really does anything. I mean, I know people who have been just living their daily lives and picking up, they go and do those trash pickups, like the cleanups, cuz they live out in California. And they're like, "You wouldn't believe how awful it is." And I'm like, "No, I really do believe it, but I also get why you do it." And he's like, "Yeah, and people hate us. They spit on us. They tell us we're destroying their camp, cuz they tend to clean up at this um I don't think you could technically call it a river. It's like a, I don't know, like a stream, I guess. I have no idea what to call it really. It is a small body of water, and they clean up sections um twice a month. They go, like, they have like a grid system, and by the time they make it back, they go back to the first grid system. You can't even tell that they were there. Um and I genuinely don't think that people who play pretend for a living uh should be slapped with the title of hero, because they have lots of money that they publicly give to charities. That's not heroic. That's the very opposite of the definition. And then, so they put celebrity, and then down here they say the heroes of medicine. So, like, what's that got to do with celebrities? Like, you went from synonym of celebrity to the heroes of medicine. It makes no sense at whatsoever. This dictionary doesn't know what it's doing. No, it's not a crick. And I don't know if it's a natural storm drain. It's the ones where, like, they have the cement side. They used to be in 80s actions and 90s actions movies where, like, they've got the cement up the side, and there's like uh bridges all along them, and then there's like this smaller, narrower water going through it. Um yeah, they go down there. Yes, they clean that up. Hello, Shield Wall of Dragons, and I 100% agree with you. He is not fulfilled by it, because it everything that he needed to stream was provided for. He didn't have to work to set any of that up. And it was just, "Dad, I'm going to do this. Give me the money." And he did, and now he's making money streaming. And he, like, of course it's not fulfilling. He didn't have to earn anything. These communists don't seem to understand that actually working for yourself and earning things is one of the greatest sensations of fulfillment you will ever have. And that's why I really dislike parents who live vicariously through their children. Yes, you should be supportive and proud and excited for your child, but also there it's only to a point. Like, yes, that's my son, that's my daughter. Look what they accomplished. Like, I hope that I'm doing right by them. And I I think when you get the moms who are jumping on their teenage sons who are the captain of the football team on TikTok and giving them a big smack on the lips, um, for attention, I think you've got some serious issues. Um, Big time. Yeah, irrigation channels, that's what it is. Thank you, Legionist. Appreciate it. Um, no, that is not a bad thing, Soul Assassin. I knew very little of him. I knew that I wasn't I checked out some of his stuff, wasn't a big fan, and checked out rather quickly. Um, but it's yeah, Heroes of Medicine are a bunch of nurses that make TikTok dance videos while people are apparently dying in the wings. So that's what the definition of hero is. Like I said, the second definition, a person noted for feats of courage or nobility of purpose, especially one who has risked or sacrificed his or her life. Right? So that is what a hero is. When you look at the definition of a greater good, they give you one. They're very the benefit of the public of more people than oneself, that which is better and more correct. So many atrocities have been done in the name of the greater good. If I wouldn't get nailed for it, because I know I would, X-Men, when he says, I have been at the mercy of men just following orders, and you have people who are like, we were doing it for the greater good. The Holocaust was for the greater good. That's where we've landed. Like that is the end of that greater good experiment. The communists have hijacked hero slightly. Thankfully, there is still a true definition as close as possible available. But greater good is what people tell themselves to justify atrocious acts. And I mean some of the most horrific crimes ever committed against humanity. And I am not being at all facetious when I say that. Yes, Soul Assassin, the Japanese internment camps, what a lot of people don't know or unaware of or just don't care about, during World War II, after Pearl Harbor was attacked by Japan, the Japanese Americans got rounded up and put into concentration camps here in America. But we called them internment camps because we couldn't call them concentration camps because those were the bad guys. So they were just being interned, not concentrated. It's kind of like how the indentured servants weren't slaves. They just weren't able to leave, or they'd be beaten and whipped. So, food for thought. Northern states were free of slavery but had indentured servitude. The United States didn't have concentration camps, but we did have internment camps. It's insane. You have so many people. The other word for this, the greater good, the ends justify the means. Doesn't matter how many people die. Doesn't matter how much land has to be sacrificed. Doesn't matter how much damage we do. As long as we get to this point, we'll be okay. It will make up for all the bad that happened to get here. And you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Not even a little bit. So you're telling me if you slaughter a third of the world's population, and nobody can have any kind of self-sustaining anything. There's no functioning society left. But you were able to feel better about yourself because you got your carbon footprint down by 0.01%. It was worth it because we delayed climate change by 2 years. You're all insane. We have to destroy people to save humanity. We got to destroy parts of humanity to save humanity. You cannot destruction is not creation. It's not. You have all of these liberal arts kids who think that, oh, but out of the ashes you can build something beautiful, and destruction is a symphony of its own. Like, no. If you blow up a building from the 16th century, it's not coming back. You might do some restoration. You might try to, include original pieces, but that building as it was will never be what it was ever again. It doesn't matter what you build in instead. It could be an exact duplicate of what was standing there before, and it would still not be the real thing. It would be a sham. It would be empty. It would be hollow. The greater good is the biggest lie, and greater good is the man in the desert standing there holding a cup of water laced with poison. That's what the greater good is. It's a sham, it's disgusting, and it's pure evil. Oh, but it has good in the definition. Like, that should be... No. Because we can't even agree as a human race where our morality comes from. So who gets to decide what the greater good is? By which measure are you judging that? And why should you be the one that gets to judge it for everyone else? Utter insanity. Yes, it is a bunch of commie gobbledygook. Insane. Learned a story today about a ship that capsized called Eastland in Chicago, and a guy who was contemplating Minecrafting himself at the bridge adjacent saw the crisis and jumped in to save people. Yeah, he became like... That is a story of like near destruction. Like a man who had no purpose saw something that he could fix, that he could do, that he could help. He probably saved a bunch of lives. And he went in and he saved people. The lack of purpose in this world is crushing. That's why they don't want you to have a family, because caring for, providing for, and defending your family is a noble and great purpose. They don't want you to have that. They want you to Minecraft yourself. Yes, road to perdition is paved with good intentions. Yep. We're actually going to get to that, Legionist. Yes, hero runs towards danger to save others' lives at the cost of their own, in most cases, or in a lot of cases. But it's just crazy. Ooh, yeah. Don't get me started on Halsey. Gross. That she is 100% a pure advocate for the greater good, and the ends justify the means. Oy. But yeah, they're taught in school by professors that just want destruction, and they only tell them to rebuild will come later so that they can get them on board. But rebuilt in whose image? Like the idolatry that is occurring in the world, not just here in America, but in the world, is atrocious. Like, we got to get back to those 10 commandments, because the further we stray, the worse it's getting, and everybody wants to live in denial. But there's going to come a point, there's not going to be any denying for anybody, and it's going to be too late. Yes, morality does come from God, and it 100%. I don't disagree with you. But that's what I'm saying. There are hundreds of millions of people that would fight you on that statement, would fight me on that statement. I don't need God to have morality. Okay, well then where does it come from? Because morality has to come from some sort of authority. And if you're saying that it comes from yourself, well, those had to be instilled in you from somewhere, somehow, someone. And how could you possibly know the difference between right and wrong, the morality of it, if you do not have a measure of scale for it? And again, whose scale are you using to measure? And it is, always should be, and always will be God's. And yet people will continue to reject it. Because when you have to admit that truth, it means that you have to let go of idolatry. And so many people are not ready for that at all. But it's just wild. So this is a commercial. I probably am going to get hit, but we're going to take a looky-loo at it anyway. Let me know what you guys think. Very few words spoken, but I think you'll get the gist.
Move it! Yes, sir!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Okay, so we have that one, right? And it was a big hit. And lots of people loved that one because it went back to the, I guess, the basic, like it went back to the basics. And so it's crazy that now we've got people who think that, oh, well, that's too masculine, it's too difficult, it's too da 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 da. Well, let's see. This is the one that came right after that more stripped back one. I hope I don't get hit.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
So that one was because they were like, oh, well, we need more. I forget what it was. They were like upset that the other one didn't have as much of a verbal message because apparently people are stupid and they can't figure out that, they're watching a recruiting video. I think those commercials are like 5 years apart. But the Marine Corps does not need all of the pomp and circumstance. Yeah, we have it, but I think that was very much. I enjoy both of those commercials, but I think that the one with fewer words better gets its point across. If that makes sense? That's the Army Shield Wall of Dragons. That's not the Marines. They completely forgot the crayons. I know. Ugh. It is fun, let me tell you, Soul Assassin. It's a good time. I'm not gonna lie. The O course was something I looked forward to. Anytime I got the chance, I would go up on it. It is great. Army did have some good commercials. They are not as good as the Marine Corps. I don't know who is in the Marine Corps PR department personally, but they better never die. Like, they better never die, because the Marine Corps recruiting commercials are legendary. They are epic. I still remember the 90s Marine Corps commercials where they're on the chessboard and he's climbing up and he's got to fight the giant behemoth. Like, they're just so good. And yeah, the West needs much more masculinity. You are 100% correct. But it's wild what's being allowed right now for places. Like, when you see those two recruiting commercials, it never crosses your mind that, oh, maybe they the Marine, like, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life is the Marines need more representation. Their whole job is to kill the enemy more efficiently. Like, I don't know how else to put, to delete obstacles to America and her allies in the most efficient way possible with the least amount of money spent. But oh man, it breaks my soul. Like, you have celebrity being a synonym for hero, you have greater good being considered heroic. The communists are trying to bleed into these things, because here is the difference between the greater good and sacrificing yourself for something greater than you. One, the greater good is usually pushed by people who will never sacrifice anything. The people in charge of deciding what the greater good is will not be the ones personally sacrificing anything. They will not be the first to lay down their lives. They will not be the first to give up their comforts. They will not be the first to step up to a challenger at all. The hero, on the other hand, will do everything in his power to make sure that no one else has to suffer if he has anything to do or say about it. So if there is legitimately no other way than sacrificing their own life, they will make that decision. And it isn't for, usually, it's not for, like, I've never spoken to a hero who's like, oh yeah, I did it for this party or that party, or I did it because I believed that the President Biden or President Trump were worthy of my life. It's not for, like, I think I had a captain. He put it so well. He was prior enlisted, but he said that heroes don't die for kings and emperors, and certainly not politicians. They die for God, their country, and their family. But most often for Marines, they die for their beloved Corps. And it's just mind-boggling that people will be like, I can't believe that you're willing to die for that piece of crap. And it's like, bro, it's not because of who's sitting in the White House. It's not because of who the speaker is. It's not because I'm left or I'm right. It's because I love America and what she stands for and her values and what she means, not just to the people, but to the world. Because as much as people will try to downplay this, and they'll be like, oh, look at all this, and people hate us around the world. There are so many people that love America and the idealism and the hope. And it's crazy because when people who have never had freedom try to explain freedom, they always talk about it in like the most selfish kind of way. And I guess it's not a surprise, as they don't actually know what it means. So with great power comes great responsibility. Freedom is not the same thing as anarchy, but people who have never had freedom or any type of heroism, they just assume that anarchy and freedom are the same thing. They think, oh, you just want the ability to do whatever you want, say whatever you want, gorge yourself to death, eat. And are there people who do that? Yes, but that's why they're sins. Like gluttony, lust, pride, envy, vanity, sloth, all of those sins. Like, I know I'm forgetting some, like I haven't mentioned some, but you guys know what I mean. You've the extremes, that's not freedom. That's a slave to something else entirely. 100%. And so when people try to talk about freedom as like, oh, you just like you take it and you go to the wildest extreme. Yeah, there's people who do it. But most of those people who indulge in gluttony and sloth, they don't make it to old age. People who indulge in lust, they are not fulfilled. They tend to don't make it to a very old age either, whether it's because of abuse or disease. Then you got people who suffer from wrath. They're the ones who slam into dividers or have road rage or something like that. And so for people to think that a committee is a better option or has more responsibility and can make better decisions for you about your life, that's terrifying to me. To think that, I mean, I lived it when I was in the, like, every single time you were like, you tried to say something or do something, then you're like, whoa, I hope I didn't just, like, dip my toe into something that I'm not going to be able to get out of, because that ain't going to be good at all. But I can't wrap my head around, I cannot wrap my head around the fact that there are such great men and there are such incredible stories of heroism and just fraternity, and they get mocked. They get mocked. And then the world wonders, like, where are all of the heroes? Where are they? Why don't we have them? Gee, I wonder. Oh, it's crazy. But to remind you guys, because I'm mean.
Fly, you fools! I have been, and always shall be, your friend.
I hope you all cried. God knows I did when I was putting that together. That's only 30 seconds of just brilliance. Utter brilliance. True heroism. True friendship. True brotherhood. And it's crazy. It's crazy that more people don't know real stories. I know plenty of Marine sailors, soldiers, airmen, flighties, flyboys, coasties, and now spacies who signed up for the paycheck, and they found something so much greater than they could have ever anticipated. But generally speaking, the people who sign up for the paycheck, they don't stay, for one. And if they do stay, it's because they went through a transformation. But no, it's not because they have no other choice. Now, for some people, I had 2 Marines underneath me, and they were both PFCs. I was a corporal. And the craziest thing, like, I heard just listening to stories from them, and one was from Oakland, and one was from the Bronx. So they are from completely different sides of the country, of the continent, and the country. And the stories were so eerily similar that it really freaked me out. Didn't know who dad was. Mom was a druggie. Gang violence everywhere. And their options to get out were to die, to run, or to join the military. So at 17, both of them at 17 went to go into the recruiter's office. The one in the Bronx said, well, you turn 18 in 2 weeks. So we'll start processing the paperwork, because by the time everything gets through, you'll be 18 and you'll be an adult. We can't sign anything, but we can start the paperwork and start doing like physicals and stuff like that. The other one, who lived on the West Coast, who came out of Oakland, he walked in and his recruiter looked at him and said, you turned 17 4 days ago. You need a waiver from your guardian. And he said, he looked at the recruiter, and he told that recruiter, he was like, if I leave here today, I will probably be dead in the next 3 months because of where I live. So the recruiter was like, what about your parents? What about this? What about that? Obviously can't name names because like there was a whole bunch of legality stuff, but essentially they put him in the Poolie program, which is like you have to wait so long before you can ship off to boot camp. They put him in the Poolie program, but also gave him housing so that he could get out of Oakland, out of where he was. And on his 18th, like he turned 18 and he walked in, like the second the recruiting doors were open, he was already in front of them. He walked in, he signed everything and shipped to boot camp. He did not care. He was ready. And so I was like listening to the two of them, and the military was their best way out. Their best way out, because one of them was at like an 8th grade reading level, and the other one got decent grades, but not enough that any college would actually accept him and he would succeed. Like, very much not that kind of situation. So the opportunities that the military offers to people are actually incredible, and they shouldn't be knocked. But I know very few soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, coasties, or spacies that do it for the paycheck. Because the pay is shit. Like, I'm going to tell you that right now. The pay is crap. Especially because you get shot at. You're just like, whoa. Not enough hazard pay in the world, bruh. Really not. Your life insurance. You're worth $300,000 to the U.S. military. That's what you're worth. Just an FYI. It's crazy. So, no. People with those arguments can shove it where the sun don't shine. Anyone who doubts Boromir just needs to listen to Mahler talk about him. He's so much more than just a weak man tempted by a powerful ring. Yes, there are many things that the movies did well, and there are a few things that the movies missed the mark on. And Boromir and Faramir, while great in film, like what done well, acted well, so much was missed out on. And I think that's why so many people love the extended versions, for sure. Holy cow, Superman, if he wasn't scared of green rocks, what's going on? $50. Thank you so much. That's incredibly generous. Thank you. Was just about to head to bed and saw you were live, so I just wanted to drop by and say you're awesome. Hope to see you in Vegas. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. No, Krypton. I really, really genuinely appreciate it. That's very generous and sweet of you. Mad respect. I appreciate it. I hope you get some good rest. Get some good sleep. And we'll see about Vegas. I appreciate you dropping by. It means the world. It really does. So appreciate you. It's you can't put them in MEPS until they're technically 18. He was definitely in the Pool E program for a long time, for a year, until his 18th birthday. And that boy was like, get me out of this hellhole. You're such a good egg. No green rocks. I appreciate it. No kryptonite. But yeah, I'm baffled that we were able to do things so well at one point. We were able to represent heroism and fraternity and sacrifice, and we knew what that meant and where it came from, and why heroes were heroes. And we just can't anymore. I wish I don't know. I wish that more people knew about. So if any of you have watched The Pacific, you may have heard of him, but I still don't think it did justice. I hope I started this at the right part. This is John Basilone's story. This is just a snippet of it.
10th Marine Regiment. During the Second Battle of Henderson Field, Basilone directed his men's fire, repaired a machine gun mostly by the feel of his hands because of low lighting, and according to his Medal of Honor citation, his efforts contributed, in large measure, to the virtual annihilation of a Japanese regiment. That's about 3,000 enemy soldiers. After receiving his Medal of Honor, Basilone was sent back home to go on a war bond tour.
So John Basilone essentially fought off an entire. So he watched as one of his machines. So he was put in charge of these different machine gunners. He watched one of the machine gun nests go down. There was one guy left. He was pinned down, and their machine gun had malfunctioned. He ran across the field under enemy fire, fixed the machine gun, and fired into the enemy. Then he ran out of ammo. So he ran to get more ammo across the field under enemy fire, then ran back to his machine gun nest, reloaded, and continued to fire, all under enemy fire. Of those 3,000 Japanese, the Japanese say he killed 2,999 of them. Is that an exaggeration? I don't know. I do know that man is a real hero. That was just like a snippet. That was 7 seconds of what that man was actually able to do. Like, I cannot put into words how outstanding that is. Like, I would love to see a fantasy character based on John Basilone. So that's why I'm writing one. Yay. there's so many heroes. You have Dan Daly and Smedley Butler. Those two Marines earned 2 medals of honor. You have Chesty Puller, who pissed off all of the higher up brass, and so he never got a Medal of Honor, but he's walking around with 5 Navy Crosses, which is the second highest honor you can get in the military. These were real men. This is World War II. So, like, guys, I need you to think about this. These are grandfathers and great-grandfathers. So we are talking only 2 to 3 generations ago. 2 to 3 gens. And I'm not talking Gen X, Gen Y, not that bullcrap. I am talking, these men are the grandfathers and great-grandfathers of us. My great-grandfather, my grandfather, my uncles. We're talking, like, just all of that bravery, all of that sacrifice, all of that heroism. What happened? Like, why did we become such lily-livered little punks? Why is communism infecting so many places? Why are people wanting to take the easy road? Why do people not want to work for their accomplishments? Why do people not want to earn? Not just for themselves. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about actually, like, earning what they have, as in the experience, the knowledge, the self-assurance, the confidence. Everybody nowadays wants to be a victim, and it's like, it's never been easier to be successful, which is sad to say, but it's 100% true. Because, quite frankly, if you're willing to put in just a fraction of a little bit of hard work, you're gonna blow past pretty much anybody and everybody who thinks of themselves as your competition. I know that there's a whole lot of insanity going on right now in the world, and definitely in social media. But I think the best example of this, and I am by no means saying, understand, I'm not saying that this is easy. I'm not saying what this man did was easy. What I'm saying is, I think the reason that people are so angry is because this man showed what actual dedication and hard work can accomplish. And I'm talking about the Rippaverse. There's many examples that I can think of, but this off the top of my head, what Eric July has been able to do is nothing short of fantastic. He is an entrepreneur. This has been years, a decade in the building, or in the process of building. He's been vocal. He's been pushing for it. He runs circles around boys that are 5, 7, 10 years younger than him. He has more drive and passion and energy than just about anybody that I've seen in this sphere. And he has it, but even if they match him on that, he's been able to direct it. And because he's been able to focus it and direct it and stay disciplined, it's been an incredible success. He is proving that hard work pays off. And he had himself that it's never been easier to be successful. You just have to be willing to put in the work. And it's true. I mean, how many excuses do people make to not go to the gym, to not pick up a hobby, to not write that page, or to not get in? Oh, well, I could if I wanted to, or if I had time. I'll get to it someday. And the more you put it off, the further and harder it is going to be to actually get to it. A great example of the opposite of what of Ripa would be someone who was definitely wildly successful, had a huge buildup of fans and supporters and just, wildly excited for the next installment. And he has sort of abandoned them to the wayside. That would be Mr. George Martin. I refuse to give him the RR because if you've listened, oh, well, I love J.R.R. Tolkien and, the RR is to pay homage to him. He didn't earn those RRs. When he finishes his story, then maybe we can talk. But he's unfinished. He has insulted fans time and time and time again. And he's managed to come out with side stories and television shows and spin-offs of those television shows and more spin-offs and cookbooks. But he can't seem to find time to finish the story that started it all. And it's just wild to me that he would attack people and blame them for pointing it out. And that is, of course, because he already knows. And he doesn't want to have to hold up and I think everybody likes to see themselves as the hero or as the underdog. But I think what people have to remember, like, my grandpa, we were talking and I was like, yeah, everybody loves an underdog story. And my grandpa's like, no, everybody loves a good underdog story. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, just because you are an underdog does not mean you're the good guy. And I was like, what? He goes, Hitler was the underdog, right? And I was like, whoa. I never thought about that. But he was. He literally started as the underdog. And it's just wild to see how fast that changed. And it did not end well for anyone. I mean, the industrial military complex probably liked it, but yeah, who would be better qualified to write a cookbook? But I think when we look at modern writing, they have most definitely, they've never experienced nor have any idea what heroism truly is. And when you look at, I think still to this day, the most on the nose ending that explained this, at least for me, like what these people genuinely visualize as heroism is a girl who doesn't get her way. Like that's their version of heroism and sacrifice is someone who doesn't get their way because it's actually impossible. Right? Oh, Shield. Okay. Have a good night, Shield Wall of Dragons. Thank you. So I'm of course talking about WandaVision. Murdered dozens of people in this show. Tortured an entire town. And this is what they come up with.
Bye, Wanda. Good luck.
Walks off like a hero. Like they even do the sunset. They have this is the epitome of not even lip service, of shallowness and idolatry. They have the sunset. They have, she walks off without getting what she wanted, which was kidnapping children, apparently. We get a flyover, right, of her. And then she looks back at the town that she held hostage and tortured for weeks. And we're supposed to feel sorry for her. Like, this is who they think a hero is. This is, yeah, they'll never know what you sacrificed. Do you know how many parents have who have children that they'll never see again because of war, because of famine, because of whatever horrific incidences? I mean, there have been parents who have tried to save their children from burning car crashes, and they might get 1 or 2 out, but they can't get to the 3rd or the 2nd. And they live with that guilt forever. And they try to convince themselves it's not because I loved your brother or sister more, it's because they were closer and I did everything I could until there was nothing left. Like, to say that those people will never understand what she sacrificed. Do you know what she sacrificed? She sacrificed not being able to kidnap children that were not hers, to bring them back to a world that was not theirs, so that she could play house. That's their definition of a hero. Suddenly, this definition right here, synonym celebrity, makes a whole lot more sense. I loathe stuff like this. She is a villainess. She is not a heroine. Just because something bad happened to you does not make you a hero. It is how you handled it in the aftermath. And she handled it the way a villainess does. She is a villainess. The ends justify the means for her. We have forgotten what heroism actually is. These people who are writing these shows have never had to do any kind of self-sacrifice or self-evaluation. They have been told their whole lives how brave they are simply for existing, how life is tough, and they need to be heard, and you feel so seen. And everything is a platform, and you should never waste an opportunity for the message, for the agenda, so that more representation can be had. It doesn't matter how many jobs are lost because companies are failing, because the general populace understands that this is idolatry and false heroism and evil. No. If you could just see it our way. And if you don't see it our way, get out. We don't want you, even though we're the tolerant ones. It's unacceptable, doesn't even begin to cover it. But lack of real world experience, lack of hardship, lack of humanity, honestly. Those come pretty close. And it's disgusting. Yes, Legionist, very much. The heroes are now villains because apparently fighting for freedom and family and wanting to better a situation, even on a small scale. Oh, that's selfish. That's savior complex. But the villains are all misunderstood And oh, they could be good if they had the means, and if they had the money, if they had the like, no, that's not how it works. You don't become a hero after things get easy or because things are easy. It's the ability to dredge through the unbearable and the horrific and the absolute soul shattering and come out the other side somewhat intact, but to make sure that everybody that followed you or anybody that you were doing it for is more intact than you are. That is the whole point. That's the whole purpose. I mean, a machine got it right, for the love of all. Roll tape.
Fly, you fools! I have been, and always shall be, your friend.
I'm gonna get hit on that, and I don't even care. Yeah, Iron Giant. That was in the original role, and I was like, I can't. I was like, I already have Superman and the T-800, and of course, the Iron Giant is the greatest non-Superman Superman movie ever. Like when people are like, "Oh, well, we wanted to do an homage to Superman," or like when what's his face? Who did who why can't I think of his name? Zack Snyder. When he was like, "Oh, well, Superman is boring," and like people and like, I just don't really understand like how to write him. Watch the Iron Giant. Watch the Iron Giant. It is the most non-Superman Superman movie that exists. Honestly, I want to class it as an official Superman movie, but who am I? But definitely the Iron Giant is fan-flippin-tastic. And people are like, "Oh, well, who's your favorite like hero in DC? And who's your favorite anti-hero? And who's your favorite villain?" And you sit there and you're like, "Well, DC can do an anti-hero really good. They can. Green Arrow, Batman, I would argue the Flash. Some people can fight me on that. Especially depending on which version you're talking about. Just saying. But DC did Paragons flawlessly. Superman and Wonder Woman. And everybody wants to say, "Oh, well, Batman is an anti-hero." I'm not disagreeing with it, but Batman is also a paragon. And of course, they're called the Trinity of DC for a reason. But they got the paragons so well. And to see modern DC just utterly trash that, it's pretty soul-wrenching, quite frankly. I mean, I would have never thought that they could I never thought that they could make Superman boring. And that's not a knock on Henry Cavill or Amy Adams. But if you ever watch the two of them on screen, like if you watch Donner's Superman and then you watch Snyder's, they are two different characters. And it shouldn't be that way. Snyder's Superman is Batman with superpowers. That's what it is. But he's even it goes deeper than that. It's Superman for Snyder is childish and petulant. And quite frankly, I don't know, I've said this before, but Henry Cavill and Amy Adams, it was very awkward. They did not have romantic chemistry on screen. It very much felt like a brother and sister affection as opposed to a Lois and Clark affection that's supposed to be deep and respectful, and he has this unwavering devotion to her because he is so impressed with her dedication to the truth, which matters to him so much. And of course, Lois is just marveled by Superman because he is everything that she has been hoping for in her heart, that the world needs that beacon of hope. And when animated characters have more chemistry, when characters from, Donner Superman came out. When did Donner Superman come out? Was it? See, now my brain stopped. Chat, help me. Was it 75? 78. Yes. Thank you. I knew it was in the 70s. So when Donner, 78, so you're talking 45 years. I mean, that chemistry holds up. So why can't chemistry from today hold up? It's so baffling, especially because we know that if any of you have watched, so when I heard that Henry Cavill was going to be Superman, I was like, the kid from Count of Monte Cristo? And everybody was looking at me like, what? And I was like, yeah, he was the kid in Count of Monte Cristo. And they were like, he was? Like, that's where I knew him from. Apparently, he did this whole bunch of other work. But, like, if you go back and watch Count of Monte Cristo, he can be incredibly, like, passionate and versatile. And he very much has that streak of loyalty that you see on there. He's capable of emoting. And then I watched the remake of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And I was like, oh, so he has a range and he can act and he does have this suave persona that he can pull off. So why is he so bland and just not believable as Superman? He looks the part. And, like, he can definitely act. So why Snyder would harpoon him that way and make him dark because he thought Superman, I forget exactly how Snyder phrased it, but essentially that like Golden Boy Superman is, but like people are tired of seeing good Superman, of Good Boy Superman, of Golden Boy Superman. I was like, I would argue the exact opposite. And the fact that you are in control of this bus, terrifying because it's going to crash and burn. And then it did. And then they paid J.J. Abrams $500 million and he is doing nothing. And then now they've got James Gunn in there who utterly loathes, like, the fans. Apparently he has lied repeatedly to fans. He has told fans to, like, if you don't like it, tough, shut up, it's not your bit. Like, the way that Gunn is treating fans, I'm just like, dude, the level of entitlement. These are the people you need to show up to your film. I'm not saying you gotta, like, worship at their feet, but a little bit of grace can go a long way, especially because they had just been told that Cavill would be coming back as Superman, and now suddenly that rug got ripped out from underneath them. Of course people were going to be upset because they wanted to see Cavill actually portray a true adaptation of Superman. So it's just mind-blowing that this is where we're at in this world and in this escapism universe when you think of how far they have fallen and what they perceive heroism to be now. It's wild. Especially when we have so many incredible examples of heroism in history, in literature, in film, in story, in verbal tradition. I don't understand how we can go from this
Gather, you fools! I have been, and always shall be, your friend.
to this. Like, yay, she lit up, she glows. And now she's like, I don't understand. Like, it's so shallow, it's so meaningless. It's soulless. And yet they try to tell you that they are identical and that I don't think that Captain Marvel is the greatest superhero of all time. I don't understand it. It confuses me. It confuses me more than I can put into words. Because first of all, whom I think is most heroic, that's subjective. But there are objective truths. And Superman is supposed to stand for truth, justice, and the American way. Batman is trying to deliver justice in an unjust world where he can trust exactly two people, Alfred and Commissioner Gordon. It's two very different men on two very different missions, but who do not want to see innocent people harmed. But here is what really blows my mind is how many people think of themselves as victims but do not actually want help or do not want the chance to better themselves, who do not want to be put in a situation where the power is in their hands, because along with that, it means that it's their fault if they don't succeed. And I think that is probably their biggest hang up, is that they do not want their failure to be their fault. So if they are always the victim and they're always oppressed and they have no real power over their own lives, well, then them not becoming multimillionaires or the number one streamer or the biggest actress or actor or the best-selling author or the astronaut that steps foot on Mars or the deep sea diver that finds, the sunken treasure of Cortez or the lost city of Atlantis or the spear of destiny or whatever the situation is. If they have no real power over their lives, then it's not their fault that they couldn't accomplish those things. And it just makes you wonder, how long can they really survive on self-denial and self-pity and self-loathing? I mean, it's crazy that we live in a world where people scream about wanting justice and wanting equity and wanting equality and wanting to have a better life and a better way, but they refuse to take any steps to personally improve their own situation, let alone other people's situations. Oh, girl. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry. Tiny humans. They, one of them heard me talking and assumed that meant they could get out of bed. Anyway, I'll have to try and cut that after. But yes, zero accountability, because if they have had the power all along to change their own lives, then they have no one to blame but themselves for their own misery and the state of their life. But especially in America, maybe not everywhere else in the world, but especially in America, that is 100% accurate. Anybody can be an entrepreneur, anybody can start a business, anybody can stream, anybody can do anything, essentially. I mean, genuinely, truly, the sky is not even the limit. And yet, people, it seems like sloth has very much wrapped its lazy tentacles around people and is pulling them down, because I've talked to, even in my, I have a sibling who thinks this way, just wants to sit on the couch, scroll social media or YouTube or TV, like watch TV shows, stream whatever show they want on whatever service. And like they literally said, wouldn't it be great if you could just stay home all day, do nothing, and get paid? That is such a dangerous mindset, and it's so incredibly lazy. Like, oh, you want money simply for existing. Oh, yeah, that never ever turned out badly for anybody ever. And I looked at my sibling and I was like, I didn't know you were a communist. And the look on my sibling's face, I'm not going to tell you if it was my brother or my sister, but because I have 4 siblings, but I'm going to try not to dime one of them out. But 100% just communist mindset. Wants to be skinny but doesn't want to diet or go to the gym. Wants to get paid but doesn't want to work. Wants to have a house but doesn't want to take care of the house. I'm like, yo, that's pretty communist of you. I think maybe we rearrange our priorities here and figure out why you want to do absolutely nothing and reap the benefits of someone who is going to work 1,000 times harder than you. Like, that's just wild to me. Like, yeah, I get it. Everybody's tired, but that can't be the only justification you have for thinking this way. It can't be entitlement. Listen, Lucius, I'm not gonna lie to you. We grew up poor. Like, we grew up poor. My mom was very good at not at trying not to let us know. Like, we would have campouts in the living room for like 2 or 3 days. And that's because the electricity got turned off. Like, we didn't know. We just thought we were having a camp out. And so we would like go to bed early and we would pretend we'd be in the wilderness. Like, my mom made it a game. I definitely ate sleep for supper. Like, definitely ate sleep for supper. So we grew up poor. We grew up knowing the value of hard work. We grew up realizing that if we, well, at least I definitely did, but I mowed lawns when I turned 11. That was I made my own summer job. I went around and mowed lawns and I made a lot of money doing it. And I was like, whew, this is awesome. Like, I can buy things, I can do things. I gave my mom some money, my mom and dad. And they were like, "No, honey, you keep your money." And I was like, "Okay." But definitely knew the value of hard work. Like, as soon as I was, cuz in North Dakota, you can get a worker's permit if you're working on like a family farm or with like family businesses and stuff like that. So as soon as I was legally able to, I went and got my worker's permit so that I could do other jobs to get paid. Because one, I learned a shit ton and I still use a lot of those skills to this day. But also, it shows you the value of hard work and dedication and follow through and responsibility and earning what you want, but also what you need. And so it has to be something outside of entitlement, because entitlement's like, I'm here, therefore I deserve. Like, that would be the best way I could describe that. This is something much deeper. This is something pervasive. Like, really, truly. Yeah, except we weren't rich parents, and as far as I know, this sibling has never picked up a Karl Marx book in this sibling's life. I'm gonna that yeah. So like, just I was blown. I was like, I had no idea you were a communist. That's not communism. No, that's the ideas behind communism. That's never how communism works out. But more power to you if that's what you think. I welcome you to try and go to a communist country. Let me know how it goes. They are obviously still here in America. But it's wild to me how different siblings can turn out when you're raised by the same parents. Just wild. Yeah, lots of the Dakotas, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Minnesota. I think Ohio does it too. A lot of the Heartland and Breadbasket and Great Plains states do that, because that's first of all, a lot of those places have really high Catholic populations. So families tend to be bigger, and family businesses are also still very much a thing in those areas. But yeah, it's just wild. And watching entertainment and escapism in general, and I know that like we've talked about this ad nauseum, but watching the false ideals of communism being lifted up as superior, I just don't understand like how you can arrive at that conclusion, especially if you have even a fraction of historical facts and a soul. And any kind of desire for you and others to do well, and for rising tides to lift all boats. That's the other thing I've noticed, is these people very much want their own boat to rise, and they don't mind if other people's boats rise, but as long as those boats don't rise as high as theirs. That's the other issue. That this whole idea of, yeah, I want you to do well, I just don't want you to do as well or better than me. And that's not a capitalist thing. That's not even a competition thing. That is an insecurity thing. And what that ends up being is people who are so selfish and so narcissistic and who need the attention and who need to be perceived as the best in their by everybody who knows them and has to have this very specific image cannot handle it when someone is honestly successful over them or even equal to them. Or worse, they came for, like, the narcissist comes from money and this other person earned everything and are, like, self-made or whatever, and they have to deal with that extra level of just respect that that person has because they worked so hard to earn what they have. And I'm so flabbergasted at what modern Hollywood considers a hero. I mean, having a tragic backstory does not justify everything that you've ever done. And the fact that, oh, this bad thing happened to me, therefore I can do this, that is the villain mindset. I'm justified in this because. So you're out for revenge. You're out for bloodlust. You might be the main character, but you're not the hero. And it's so funny because you watch, like, the show Wish. If any of you remember Disney's Centennial Celebration film, Wish, the king was literally like, I have to make sure that wishes that might harm the kingdom or other people don't get granted. And she's like, everybody should get their wishes. She's literally the bad guy. She's literally the villain. And it's only towards the end that is a really lame justification for her being the heroine and the king being the villain. Like, it's crazy. But it's this whole mentality of, like, oh, well, hurt people, but healed people, heal people. Like, no, I know plenty of hurt people that never hurt other people because they recognized how utterly atrocious what happened to them was, and they'd never want that for another person. That's a hero. But saying, well, I hurt these people, but now I'm healed, so I'm going to heal other hurt people. No, that's not how that works. And there's all of these, they have all these, like, they try to do these little quips and these little phrases, and they try to do, like, these little soundbite things. And in reality, you just have to have personal responsibility and personal accountability and do the best you can with what you have where you are at, and don't fall to temptation. I mean, the story in the garden happens people don't realize it happens every day. Every day we fall to temptation. That's why in the Lord's Prayer, in the Our Father, it literally says, like, lead us not to temptation, deliver us from evil. The garden plays over and over and over again, even though we know that temptation is dangerous and that it's not going to bear good fruit. And yet people still fall to temptation. And it's wild that people so happily and willfully forget that. And I think of this scene from Ghost Rider. You guys remember when Johnny Blade is just a little kid, and not little, but he's like a teenager, his dad's sick, and the devil shows up and he's like, I just want my dad to be healthy. And the devil's like, okay, in exchange, you're going to be I'll have a job for you at some point. And so he signs the contract, and the next day, his dad's as healthy as a horse and then dies. That is what happens. That's what happens when you take shortcuts. That's what happens. Like, oh, but it was just a son looking out for his father. Yes, but the devil exploited that weakness. Rather than trying to find other ways, he tried to take a shortcut, and it ultimately cost him his father anyway. And it's wild that people don't get. Yes, I was just gonna say the monkey's paw. The curse of the monkey paw. Absolutely. Like, you can't. The devil. It's crazy. What people don't realize is the devil does not have the power to stop death. He doesn't have power over the grave. That is Jesus Christ. And so for people to think that they would be able to make a deal with him and that he would have any kind of power that could rival or overcome God is exactly why Satan fell in the first place, and why you're not supposed to make deals with the devil, because they are a monkey's paw. They are false. They are an illusion. So, yep, devil is in the fine print. Took away one death for another. Yep. Hail Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. So it's truth is not subjective. Truth is objective. And when we can get back to that, when we can get back to morality comes from God, when we can get back to truth is objective, and that the ends do not justify the means, and that heroes are self-sacrificing, and it's not for the greater good, but from morality, they recognize that their sacrifice will protect who and what they love and give them a better chance at overcoming whatever villain or evil it is far different than having a prideful, self-idolatrating leader that says, these are the things you must do to prove your loyalty to me. This is, you will be remembered as a martyr, as a hero, if you sacrifice yourself. Why are you not giving up your comforts? Why are you not sacrificing yourself? Why are you not walking this path? And it's just wild. So I think, and those are such simple, the crazy thing is, the simplest solutions are never easy. It's such a true statement, because the fix is simple. But so many people refuse to make it easy. And it's so wild that is where we've landed, and that the people they're trying to push as heroes are shallow and vapid and selfish and have no redeeming qualities, have no heroism. It's wild, and it's, oh, well, I didn't get my way, and I didn't kill as many people as I could have, so that makes me a hero, and I'm just misunderstood, and I've been through so much, and you don't know my truth, and you don't know what I've been through, or you have not seen what I've seen. These things do not make you a hero. But how you treat people, regardless of your own circumstances, how you move forward after hardship, after loss, after pain, what you're willing to give up of yourself so that someone else does not have to make a similar choice or sacrifice, and so that they can be a little bit more whole than you are yourself at the end of it, then that is very much a path towards heroism. It doesn't guarantee that you'll be a hero, but it's definitely a path towards it. And yeah, you have people forget about the everyday heroes. The people who, you know, they help out in their community without asking anything in return, whether it's, they clean up, they sweep the storefront of an elderly shop owner that can't do it. They take kids to school whose parents, or maybe they're living with a grandparent, don't have a working vehicle and can't afford the bus. Or maybe you've got men who are teaching young boys honor and duty and a sense of responsibility and how to provide for themselves and their family. Whatever it may be, their names might not be remembered, but their actions will have a ripple effect that even they can't imagine, and they have no idea what those everyday small acts can lead to for other people. They don't know what sort of foundations they're helping to lay. And I think that is a much more noble and incredible story and individual than someone who throws a fit because they're not seen the way they want to be seen, or a character on screen who murders a bunch of innocent people and tortures dozens of others because they don't like reality, and so they literally tried to bend it to their will until it snapped back, because reality will always win. So once we can get some people into writers' rooms that have actual life experience and a respect for human life and human decency, and recognize the objective truth and morality and where it comes from, and that the greater good is a lie, we'll be off to a much better start with any kind of story than we have seen in quite some time, with very few exception. And that goes for video games, that goes for books, that goes for music, that goes for pretty much all facets of escapism. It's just crazy. You know what? Guy Falcon, hi, by the way. Absolutely. He's told by his people that he made a huge impact on their lives. He doesn't have any war medals. He doesn't have... There was no parade for him. There was no wall that memorialized him. There was none of that. But all of those people, his brother wouldn't have survived childhood without George. So he wouldn't have been a war hero. His wife never would have gotten married and would have been terrified. His town would have been overrun by a greedy, narcissistic, selfish asshole. And it's all because he continued to do the right thing. Not just because he existed, but because he was there to be moral, to be upright, and to provide that beacon of hope and morality. And it's such a good story. I love it so much. But we have hit 145. I appreciate all of you so much. No Green Rocks, thank you so much for the $50 super. It means the world. It truly does. Everybody in the chat, you are beautiful. I am humbled. I thank you so much for being here, for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed the topic. You guys keep coming back, so must be doing something A-okay. And I hope that you all have a great evening or a great day, depending on where you're at in the world. God bless. Godspeed. Much love, and I will talk to you all later.
Fly, you fools! I have been, and always shall be, your friend.